Hey, coaches. Welcome back to the Coach Chip channel. I'm going football talk with Coach Chip. And I told you last episode, I believe it was episode 14, obviously. I was going to tell you the day, but it really doesn't matter in the YouTube world about dates and times. But today we're going to talk more philosophy than X's and O's. And we're going to talk about how can you run a fast tempo offense. Now, I don't have all the answers, but I'll give you some things I've seen and some things I've done. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'll give you a little background on me as far as that goes. I love it. Been doing it my entire career off and on, depending on where I was and if I was in charge of the offense or had a lot of input into it, or it was the head coach. We would go no huddle. We wouldn't necessarily go fast, but we'd go no huddle. Because I'm reminded back in the late 80s, I believe, when the baseball documentary, Ken Burns' Baseball, came out, there was an interview with George Will, the conservative commentator for many years. And they interviewed him. He's a big baseball fan. And he was talking about football. He said, football is everything that's wrong with society. He said, with American society, it's violence punctuated by committee meetings. And I had already decided I was a no-huddle kind of guy because of my experience at Troy. When I arrived at Troy was in 1983 when Coach Gailey first got there, Chan Gailey, but later been on be head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and several other NFL stops, OC, things like that, head coach, Georgia Tech. We were a wishbone team, and we went no huddle. Sometimes we did hurry, sometimes we wouldn't, but it sold me on it because I saw you didn't have waste time in practice. You didn't have to worry about telling people to be quiet in the huddle because there was no huddle. And just get out there and line up, and it was a lot of one-word calls. And so let's talk about some different ways to do it. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I've got some things I've seen, things I've done. I love it. Whether you want to go fast or not, I highly recommend going away from huddling. And even if you want to huddle in the game, I say don't huddle in practice. I was raised up in old school football where coaches said you got to be the huddle, got to look just right and all this kind of stuff. And that's fine. That military discipline, that's what you want to do. Go right ahead. But I'm not going to do that. And if we ever do huddle, when do teenage boys need to be taught how to stand around in a group? You know, as long as everybody can hear what's going on as far as I'm concerned. But if you want to huddle in the game, I highly recommend you don't huddle in practice. Because again, it's a waste of time. Running back and forth, getting guys in the huddle, you get the griping and sniping at each other. Why'd you miss that block? And if you just line up and run the play. So let's just talk about some different ways that you can go no huddle. And we'll look here, and this is a PowerPoint that I've got, and it's just different ways that you can play fast. And of course, if you play fast, you'll practice fast. One-word calls is very popular, and that's what we did when I was in school at Troy. We have Troy was triple option left, Trojan was triple option right. There were other things that went with that, like there were numbers to change it up. Like I remember, that's been a long time, like Selma 98, Selma 98. And I wasn't ever real sure because I played on the defensive side of the ball what that was. But I picked up on a lot of the word calls because hearing them every day. And then I'd ask the guys, I'd say, hey, on offense, I said, is that this and that? And he said, yeah. And I'd ask him, I said, does the other defense ever figure it out? And he said, yeah, sometimes. And that's why we have the numbers and things like that. And then sometimes, of course, because we're triple option, it just don't matter. You can know triple options coming, and I don't know necessarily you can stop it because even the offense doesn't know where it's going. Another thing they did, people have done, is have to do with syllables. Like Troy would be to the left because Troy, one syllable. Trojan would be to the right, two syllables. And of course, that goes back to the roots of football when odd numbers were always on the left, even numbers were always on the right. And I know I'm pointing to your left, but that's my right hand. Like 22 was a play to the right, 23 was a play to the left. So Troy, one syllable, Trojan, two syllables. Now that get kind of crazy down here in the deep south because depending on who you're talking to, Troy can become a two-syllable word, Troy. And there's other words, like even Boe can become two syllables down here in the south, but there's different ways to do it. Some people do it like the way you read it. Like if we want Troy to be to the left, if you were reading an article about the Troy Trojans, where would Troy be in the article? To the left. So Troy to the left, Trojan to the right. One-word calls are great. I've had people do two-word calls like Pittsburgh. would always be their power scheme. And they'd have some other word, like if they want to run power right, they go, red Pittsburgh, line up and run it. Pittsburgh blue, be to the left. I'm just making these up, and there's things I've heard over the years. And there's different ways to do that, of course. Now you say, what about formation? Well, when one word calls, you got to have it built in. And I remember even I was able to get a coach I was with. I was the O-line coach back in the mid-90s to go to some no-huddle stuff. Like on 3rd and long, we huddle normally, but if it was 3rd and short, 3rd and short, we'd line up real quick and make a call and run our best inside run play, like power right, if it was 3rd and short. And the kids knew when we hear this word, we're going to line up in this formation, go on first sound, and we're going to run this play. And that was a good thing to catch the defense off guard. And sometimes, we were playing 6A ball at the time. I was coaching 6A ball, and a lot of them would do substitutions, based on down and distance and things like that, situational substitutions. And so what we would do, we'd catch them in a change. And we just line up and make that call. And we knew, and it was one way. It was always going to be power right. And then we eventually went where we could run on 3rd and short or 2nd and short. Anytime you want to do it, you just call the word. And the other word would be counter. So it looked like the power, and it started like the power, but it went back to the left. And so we had counter left and power right. One word, it was 2 one-word calls, even for a team that huddled. So those are ways to go fast as well. And this is probably the most efficient way, but it's also the most limited way because you can't have but so many one-word calls. And I've gone that way too and looked at it. So other ways that you can play fast is the wristbands. And I've talked to coaches say they don't like the wristbands. They think it slows them down. But my question was always, and I'm not going to argue, I'm just kind of being devil's advocate here. If you say the wristbands slow you down, okay, if your wristband, let's say you got the 3-pane wristbands. So you got 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to do at top, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, or have a name for them. And let's just say we got top 12, you're making a call from the sideline. How in the world is that slower than having a bunch of coaches over there giving signals, or even one coach giving a signal, whether it be left hand, right hand, doing stuff, or all the touching like baseball. You got to be careful about touching your face now because, we got that corona thing. And so that's going to put a quietus on some of that touching your face stuff. That's probably why they postponed baseball season. The coach can't give any signals now. I digress. Wristbands to me are good, and there's different ways you can do them, and I'm going to show you some of the ways we do them. Like this is our left tackle's wristband from several years ago. I think this was the 2017 season. You can see, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I can see it here on mine. It says play 1 on this card, down. Play 21, gap hinge. You've heard me call that gap flip. Play 2, gap hinge. Play 3, down. So if that's the top wristband, we may be on the sideline go top, 1, 1, 1, 1, or top, 23, and you can come up with different ways. We've actually had the cards where you held up a card with a 2 and a 3, or held up a card with just a 3. There's different things like that. And as long as the kids, the main thing about going fast to me is you got to practice it, and the kids got to get used to running down the field, finding the umpire, and seeing where he's spotting the ball and get lined up. And you practice it, and you got to practice it. You just can't go out there on Thursday and do it. You can't do a 10-minute hurry-up period and expect to be proficient. You can't do anything for 10 minutes and expect to be proficient. All right, and then you've got right here, this is a sample cut out from a quarterback band of the way we would do it. We called it bundling or bunching the plays together. And you can see all these plays, like this is on the left side right here. These are left hash plays. The quarterback knows. So if we yelled to him, go red bundle, or something like that. And we don't call them bundles anymore. That's something we did even before the state championship game, before the state championship season of 17. But we go like red. Well, the quarterback knows he can call starting with number 1 or number 21. And what he'll do, if I'm on the left hash, he'll call T-Buck left. If we're on the right hash, he'd call T-Buck right. And he would just tell the other kids, he'd go like 21. And they would look at their wristband, and long as we stayed ahead of the sticks and stayed on schedule, we'd stay with that bundle. Now, if you get behind, he'd look over there at us, and then we'd change the call, and then you go to your call sheet and say, okay, it's second long now. What's the second long call that we've got over here? And so, and all of these are the same formation. All right, this is, well, all on the 1 through 6 is left formation. 21 through 26 is one formation. Down here, 7 through 12, those are all the same formation. 27 through 32. So what would happen if we were on the left hash and we called T-buck left, and for some reason the ball wound up on the right hash, we'd go straight to play 22 and run Q counter left. Okay? After Q counter left, and we're on the left hash and we're still on schedule or ahead of schedule and we're got a first down on the first two, then he'd go to play 23, go bash right. And they're all out of the same formation or subtle differences like flip the H, flip the Z. And they're going to line up, as fast as they can, but that's a form of scripting. And it's a way of doing a script in the middle of a drive. You just get a first down. Let's say it's 3rd and long, and you get the first down. Now you got 1st and 10. And you say, hey, we're in a good place right here. We're on the 40. All right, let's go, go, go. Red, 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 red to the quarterback. Quarterback knows. All right, if the ball's in the middle of the field, he picks it. He picks what side to run to. And we've talked about it. We would know. We would say things like, okay, now we're in this position here. This is the best play to run. All right, other ways to do it, to hurry up, is we talked about scripted, like just have 10 plays. And we've actually done that. I've actually made a separate wristband for the quarterback. Now, he's still got the regular one. Or even if we went on wristbands, I'd make him one and have scripts on there. We'd have multiple scripts and do the same thing we just talked about on the previous slide. Just go right there. So you got scripted plays. All right. Multiple signalers. You got guys on the sideline wigging their hands and all this kind of stuff. That's when, one guy's talking to the skill guys, one guy's talking to the lineman, one guy's talking to the quarterback. Then you've got the boards, the signboards with all the funny things. I recommend using multiple signboards, maybe one that says formation, one that says play. That way the other side can't pick up on it. One may just talk to the lineman, maybe a blocking scheme or a blocking technique. So different ways you can do this. You got one-word calls. Here they all are right here. We're going to go through them. One-word calls. Wristbands, aka wrist coaches, multiple signalers, signboards, scripted plays, a combination of these. And you can do like scripted plays and signboards together, scripted plays and signalers together, the wristbands, one-word calls. You can, if you do a lot of one-word calls, you can make a separate wrist coach just for the quarterback. And just say, okay, you're going to run this play. So he may go Pittsburgh, Troy, and just go boom, 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 boom. And all you got to do is get their attention from the sideline. Now, my question to you is, what are your favorite ways to speed things up? How would you do it? And how do you do it without giving it away? You can hit me up on the comments at the bottom, okay? Or you can hit me up through email, siegel.chip@gmail.com. I'm Chip Siegel on Twitter, and I'm Chip Siegel on Facebook. And hit me up either way. I've got a lot of y'all. We've had a conversation going. I've been having several email chains going with some coaches talking about jet and buck and power and all this. I got a question for you guys different from what we've been talking about today. If you're coming to a new situation, okay, and you're going to have a spring game after just 9 days of practice, okay, what are the 4 or 5 running plays? What is the one one drop back pass scheme you'd run, concept, quick game you'd run, screens, what would you do? Hit me up at the bottom. Let's have a conversation. Hit me up on my Gmail. Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on Twitter. And folks, share these videos, please. It's fun to do, and I'm enjoying it. We've got way over 200 subscribers now, which is amazing. And let's get it out there. Let's have a conversation. And as always, let's be elite.